there, this low-grade hum of wrongness underneath everything. It happens at random moments. Driving, walking through a grocery store, staring at your own face in the mirror. Suddenly, the world loses its weight. The texture thins. Everything looks flat, like a set, like a render that's not quite finished loading. The people around you start to look like extras in a movie you didn't audition for. Conversations sound rehearsed. Faces look like masks wearing masks. Even your own hands look foreign, like you're watching them from somewhere far away. You feel like you're piloting your body from a control room, present but behind glass. Here, but not quite here. You've probably wondered if you're losing it. If this is what a breakdown feels like. If you should be worried. Or maybe you've wondered the opposite. If you're finally seeing something true. If the fakeness isn't a malfunction, but an accurate reading. If everyone else is the one who's out of touch, and you just accidentally looked behind the curtain. You oscillate between these fears. Am I broken? Then, am I right? Both feel terrifying. And the worst part is, you can't talk about it. Because how do you explain this without sounding crazy? So you just walk around, seeing through everything, alone in the seeing. Here's what nobody tells you. This feeling isn't random, it isn't meaningless, and it doesn't sort neatly into symptom or awakening. It's a signal. The question is, a signal of what? Let's start with what's actually true about the world you're perceiving. The fakeness is real, not in a conspiracy way, in a structural way. You live in an environment engineered for performance. Social media turned identity into content. The attention economy turned connection into engagement metrics. Every surface is optimized, filtered, designed to trigger a response. You're watching people perform happiness based on an image of happiness they saw on a screen. You're watching people perform outrage based on an algorithm that rewarded them for it. You're watching performances of performances, copies without originals. Baudrillard called this hyper-reality. You didn't need to read his philosophy to feel it. You grew up swimming in it. So when everything feels like a performance, it's because a lot of it is. When faces feel like masks, it's because people are increasingly wearing masks. When your own life feels scripted, it's because you've absorbed 1,000 templates for how life is supposed to look. Your perception isn't wrong. The world is more artificial than any previous generation has experienced. The simulation isn't a metaphor. It's the water you're swimming in. But here's where it gets complicated. Seeing through the performance doesn't tell you what's underneath. Recognizing the simulation doesn't show you what's real. And this feeling of unreality, the derealization, the dissociation, the glass wall between you and everything, it can mean very different things depending on where you are. Sometimes it's a symptom, sometimes it's a defense, and sometimes it's recognition. The question isn't whether what you're feeling is valid. It is. The question is, what is it telling you? Here's what nobody explains about this feeling. It lives at the intersection of breakdown and breakthrough, and the line between them isn't always clear. The sensation of unreality, clinical psychology calls it derealization, shows up in 3 very different contexts. Knowing which one you're in changes everything. The first is suffering, when the unreality comes with panic, when you feel like you're losing your grip and the ground won't stay solid, dissociation isn't peaceful, it's terrifying. Your body feels foreign. Time moves wrong, too fast, too slow, stuttering. There's a glass wall between you and everything, and you're trapped behind it, watching your life happen to someone else. This is your nervous system in overload. It's pulling the emergency brake because something is too much to process. This is not enlightenment. This is not growth. This is a signal that something needs attention, care, maybe professional support. If this is you, if the unreality is crushing you, that's not a sign to push deeper. That's a sign to get help. The seeing through can wait. Your stability cannot. The second is defense. When the world gets too crazy, too fast, too overwhelming, the psyche has a circuit breaker. It dims the lights. It creates distance between you and reality so you can keep functioning. You're not falling apart. You're going numb. You're watching from behind glass because being fully present hurts too much right now. This is dissociation as survival strategy. It's not pathological, it's adaptive. Your system is protecting you, but it's also not a place to live. The defense that saves you can become the prison that traps you if you never come back. If the world has been unreal for months, years, if you can't remember what presence feels like, the defense has overstayed its welcome. The third is recognition. When the feeling of unreality comes not with panic, not with numbness, but with something unexpected. Relief, like a weight lifting, like finally being allowed to stop pretending you don't see what you see. Part of you is terrified, but part of you is exhaling, because the performance was exhausting. Pretending the world made sense was exhausting. And now you don't have to pretend anymore. The fakeness feels more honest than the reality everyone else is performing. This isn't breakdown. This isn't defense. This is consciousness expanding beyond the container it was given. Seeing the set for what it is. Not escaping reality, but finally seeing how much of reality was never real to begin with. How do you tell the difference? Suffering is the key. If the unreality is crushing you, get support. If it's protecting you, honor it. But don't build your house there. If it comes with a strange peace, if seeing through feels like coming home rather than falling apart, that's different. That's pointing somewhere else entirely. But even then, even if this is recognition, not suffering, there's something no one warns you about: the loneliness. When you see through the performance, you feel alone. Everyone else seems to be playing along, saying the lines, following the script, and you're standing there watching the show, unable to pretend you don't see the stage lights. You can't talk about it. How do you explain everything feels fake without sounding like you're having a breakdown? How do you describe the glass wall without people looking at you like you need medication? So you learn to perform normality. You say the right things. You smile at the right moments. Why you pretend the world feels solid when it doesn't. And now you're performing too. Just a different kind of performance. The performance of being okay. The performance of not seeing what you see. The loneliness isn't just, no one understands me. It's deeper than that. It's the loneliness of being awake in a world that's still dreaming, of seeing the construction while everyone else is living inside it, of knowing something you can't unknow and having no one to know it with. This loneliness can push you in dangerous directions. You might start to feel superior. I see through it. They don't. I'm awake. They're asleep. This is a trap. It's the ego building a new identity out of the seeing through, a new performance called the one who sees. Or you might start to doubt yourself. Maybe I'm just broken. Maybe I should try harder to believe. Maybe the problem is me. This is also a trap. It's the loneliness pushing you to abandon what you've seen just to belong again. Neither direction leads anywhere good. The exit isn't feeling superior. It isn't going back to sleep. It isn't building an identity around being awake. The exit is something else entirely. When everything feels unreal, your mind will try to think its way back to solid ground. It won't work. You can't think your way out of derealization. The mind that sees through is the same mind that's unmoored. You can't use the tool that's floating to anchor itself. But there's something that isn't floating. Your body. Feel your feet on the floor right now. Not the idea of your feet. The actual sensation. The pressure, the weight. Now do this with me. Bring your hand into your field of view. Look at your thumb. Press your thumb against your index finger. Hard. Rub them together. Feel the friction, the heat, the resistance, the ridges of your fingerprint against skin. Focus entirely on that friction. This sensation is real, not real in some philosophical sense, but real in the only sense that matters right now. It's raw data, unmediated, uncopyable. The simulation can fake a lot of things. It can't fake the feeling of your own skin. When the world goes flat, don't grab a thought. Don't grab a memory. Don't try to think yourself back to reality. Grab your body. Press your feet into the floor. Feel the chair holding you. Rub your fingers together until the friction becomes the most real thing in the room. The mind can lie. The body cannot. This isn't a cure. It's not going to make the unreality disappear. You can't unsee the set once you've seen it, but you can anchor. You can be unmoored and present. You can see through and still be here. The body is the anchor that lets you float without drowning. Your body doesn't go away. The sensation of friction doesn't go away. The weight of gravity doesn't go away. Start there. So where does this leave you? You've seen through. The fakeness is visible. The scripts are obvious. The performances don't fool you anymore. Now what? Here's where most people get stuck. They make an identity out of the seeing through. They become the one who's awake while everyone else is asleep. They trade one performance for another. Now performing enlightenment instead of normality. Or they try to go back to sleep, try to force themselves to believe again, try to forget what they saw. It doesn't work. You can't unsee the set. Or they just float, permanently unmoored, seeing through everything but building nothing, critiquing the simulation from inside it. Sophisticated and stuck, recognition without reconstruction is just high-fidelity suffering. Here's what nobody told you. Meaning isn't found, it's made. The old world handed down meaning like an inheritance. Religion, nation, tradition. You were supposed to just accept it. But that world is dissolving. And waiting for meaning to arrive is like waiting for a letter from a civilization that no longer exists. The people who aren't stuck, the ones who seem to have energy, direction, momentum, they're not less aware than you. They've just figured out something you haven't yet. watching the movie. The real exit is realizing that you aren't the character on the screen, and you aren't even the person sitting in the theater. You are the light. You are the field of awareness in which the entire movie, the world, your body, and your thoughts, is currently being rendered. The simulation isn't something you are trapped inside of. It is something that is happening inside you. Once you realize you are the space where the game is happening, you stop trying to escape the screen. You start using the hardware to build a game worth playing. That's the exit. There's a system built for this transition, for moving from recognition to creation, from seeing through to building with what remains. It mapped this passage because it was built by someone who stood where you're standing, who saw the set, felt the loneliness, and found the way through. You are not trapped in the Matrix. You are the Matrix, waking up to its own nature. You aren't crazy. You were just early. This was the mass transmission. If you are ready to stop floating and discover what's next, trace the signal to the void. Coordinates are locked. Access key. Grid. The mirror is active. Come anchor the player. gameoflife.co/void